little red button? Yeah, push the little red button.
Welcome to the Netpicks podcast, episode 1. They call me the captain. You can call me Susan if it makes you happy. And the Chewie to my Han Solo is, of course, the podcast machine, Mike Larkin. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, dude. Ready to open it up with the Netpicks podcast. I'm excited. We get to talk a lot about movies, pop culture, what have you, man. I am ready to go.
New things.
Yeah.
Now, this is a classic movie podcast with a difference. You may have heard me do shows like this before, but forget about all that. For this first episode, we each have 2 classic movies or series, possibly obscure, to discuss at the end of the episode. And at the end of every episode, we will randomly select a topic for the next show, in which we'll each pick 2 movies of that variety. And it could be 80s action, it could be a Tom Hanks movie, it could be a horror franchise, or it could force us to watch something we absolutely hate, which should be fun. We'll also be playing 5 films or less live on the show at the end of the show, which is where we each select an actor and we have to connect them in 5 movies or less. And disclaimer before we begin, every movie has to be at least a year old or straight to DVD in the interest of professionalism on my part. So let's open the curtains on this first episode. Mike, what have you been watching?
Okay, so for mine is relatively new. I have to thank Brittany Savage for this because she was telling me I have to check this out because she just saw it on Netflix. And I'm like, all right. So I just recently watched 1BR, which is now on Netflix, stands for One Bedroom. And it stars Nicole Bryden Bloom, Naomi Grossman, Susan Davis, and Giles Matthey. And the purpose and the whole point of the film and plot is it's new to Los Angeles. A woman moves into a seemingly perfect apartment complex and soon finds out that there are consequences for breaking the rules. Can you say cult-like, my friend? Man, she wants to get away from her father, who's constantly on her, very protective, very just kind of overbearing, if you will, because, you know, she wants to do things herself. She doesn't want to feel lonely. So she goes into this complex, gets the apartment, constantly hears noises. Then we find out that it's this whole kind of like cult mentality, right? You know what I'm saying? She has a cat in there. She doesn't tell anybody. The cat goes into the microwave. It's this whole type of there's this whole type of thinking, and I'm like, what the fuck? So there's this whole type of thinking to it. They have her up against the wall. It's like a stress routine. She has to do it for hours. They're friggin' putting drills and shit into her hand. So it's pretty much like, think of 1984, Big Brother's watching, right? There's cameras everywhere. It's like a cult-type film like that, but to the extreme. It's pretty much your whole different type of thinking. It's nuts. It's one of the things where I was like, goddamn. And it's cult-like, and it's just insane, and it's just very different mindsets, and it's just everybody is just hooked on this one book called The Path to Community. So it's like their own community, and it's like their overall anti-socialism to the world. In your own community, you're stuck there. No social medias, no nothing. You are just in your own mindset. It's a very unique way of thinking because they're all attached to this one book, The Path to Community. You got little kids there. You got kids there. Man, you're stuck. So it's really kind of like your own reality within one property, and that being this. So yeah, it's very unique and very interesting. And it came out last year in 2019. It was made, and it's on Netflix now in 2020. So I mean, it's definitely something for the people to watch. It's a crazy one. It's a weird one, but it's something that'll have you intrigued for an hour and a half.
Yeah, when you said she moved in and it turned into some kind of cult, I was thinking Suspiria, but obviously it's not witchcraft. They're just batshit crazy.
It's just bad shit crazy. And it's just they're all branded, and like she's starting to get into that way of thinking because she had her friend that was there, right? She worked as like this temp for like a law firm, and I'm just like, okay. And then her friend's telling her to live your fucking life, and their thing is the dad comes to visit, and there was a thing why she was so upset because the dad cheated on the mom, and he's like, he felt so sorry. But the funny part about it is, it's not funny, but it's like, Jesus, the guy who's there that really is kind of like part of this whole like cult type thing, the part of the community, so to speak, and I use that in air quotes, is going to kill the dad unless, she turns her back on the father and just rids him out of life. Get rid of everyone. We are your family. This is your home now. You don't need that. And it takes a very interesting turn because, the only reason why she's there is to be pretty much a wife to this dude because his wife died and he's been looking for that someone, and it just, yeah. and that's the purpose of why she's there. And then like it just comes to the point where she's had enough. She's trying to help her friend who was trying to help her get out of this place. And then she's like, you know what? You're strong. You're better than this. You're terrified. Get out of this thing. Trying to get her like to snap out of it. It's like they've taken control of your mind. You could still have a chance to, get out of here. So she kills the guy there, and then she's trying to get out of there. And the guy who, like I told you, like was supposed to be there just, to be like her new husband, so to speak, pretty much just sacrifices his life so she could get out of this like cult-like mentality. He gets killed. She's a bloody mess. She finally gets out of there, but then she realized that all these properties are by the gentleman Charles. It starts with the last name E, and oh my God, I wish I could pronounce it, but his name was Charles. He's the guy who wrote the book, right? So he's on all these properties, and she's escaped from this pretty much cult thing, and then she runs down the friggin' road the hell out of there, man. So it's like a block full of cult properties where all these people are surrounded. It's trippy, and I don't blame him for getting the hell out of there, man. But yeah, for an hour and a half, you are just invested, you're creeped out, you are a whirlwind of emotions, and it's like, fuck. You know what I'm saying? That's really all I can say is fuck. I definitely, not to spoil it for anybody, but definitely check out 1BR, One Bedroom, on Netflix, man, because she's just in this, pun intended, one bedroom. No, she's got mattresses. She's getting everything in there. She's starting to get everything into this one bedroom. But man, no pets, no nothing. You have to do it in your own way of thinking. And again, it's like a twisted version of 1984. Big Brother is watching you. We got surveillances. We got classes teaching you how to think, the whole nine, man. You know what I'm saying? When Matt Seidel, to use a wrestling reference, was telling you to free your mind and talk about your third eye in Impact Wrestling, this is that to a whole nother level. My goodness.
Yeah, I scrolled through it. I'm sure everybody does with Netflix. You scroll through, you come across so many films, you think I'll add that to the list, until I decide. And by the time you've done all that, you could have watched the whole movie. This was one of them, so now I'm going to have to bump it up. 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. I say tomatoes, you say tomatoes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb, and 56% Metacritic. And I mean, personally, I'm going to say this right now. If you guys are just looking for a quick movie or just like a quick horror film, because there's a lot of these that are just an hour and a half and they go by like that, definitely check it out. And I mean, David Manner, who's the director of this film, did a very nice job in it, because what's interesting about it is he talked about this movie. He did a nice little interview, and he said that he wanted to put his experience of what it was like when he was in Los Angeles and just show all the things that happened when he moved and the type of people that you get to see, in particular in Los Angeles, and just his crazy experience with living in California. So yeah, he had his own little twist to it.
56% is pretty high for Metacritic, because they're pretty difficult to please.
That they are, man. But then again, everybody's a critic, you know?
Yeah, so is IMDb, so 5.8 is pretty high for IMDb. Do people still use IMDb anyway?
I have no idea, man. There's so many things out there now in this world. It's like, can you really keep in track what everybody fucking listens to?
I thought IMDb died with when they removed message boards, because everybody was like, that's the whole reason we go on there, to argue with people about movies.
Exactly.
Okay, we will rank 1BR. Well, you can rank 1BR at the end of the show once we get through the 4 movies. So my first one is actually a series that we decided to watch. So the first one in the series came out 17 years ago, and I only ever watched the first 2. And as you're scrolling through online stuff, you come across straight to DVD sequels, because it's a horror franchise and they never die. So I was amazed and astounded to find that this had now 6 movies in the series. I think the last one came out in 2014. And as expected, I'm not going to get anybody's hopes up. As expected, they got worse and worse and worse. And more crappy and more crappy. But the first one I really love, and always did love it. It stars Eliza Dushku, who I think is the only famous name in it. And it is Wrong Turn. And yes, there are now 6 of them. And a 7th one in the making. It's basically a throwback to 80s horror, where there's like mutants in the woods. It's literally backward. It's West Virginia, based in West Virginia. People go get lost in the woods, they come across these mutants, they get killed. It's a very simple plot. And like I said, the first one kind of had the star power of Eliza Dushku. I know she's not stupidly famous, but I'm sure you know who Eliza Dushku is, right?
Yes, she was in the Bring It On films. I remember seeing her in The New Guy. Dude, you're taking me back to 8-year-old, 9-year-old me because I loved her in the comedies, man. The New Guy was very funny with her and DJ Qualls and Zoe Deschanel. And she was one of the big, parts of the Bring It On series with Kirsten Dunst. So, yep.
Yeah. And also Buffy, I believe she was in.
Yes.
I'm gotta be honest, I wasn't, never been fully familiar with Buffy. Obviously, I know about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but I never really followed it from start to finish.
Oh, you got it, man. Probably one of, you know what it is about that one, the one that really put Sarah Michelle Gellar on the map.
Yeah.
But she was also a big part of that too. I believe she was Faith on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, if I remember that right.
Yes.
Okay, but yeah, so she was an integral part. But yeah, I remember that as a kid. It's WB, man. Like you're taking me back off.
So yeah, this was the only one in the series that ever got a theatrical release. Every other one was straight to DVD.
Yo, you know what's interesting? Not to cut you off, but if you look at the people that are in this, Emmanuelle Chriqui, who's the one that plays Carly. See, here's where I would know her from. She was in the Nickelodeon film Snow Day, which had like Chris Elliott, and he was like the evil guy that wanted to like clean up the snow so the kids could go back to school. And she was in You Don't Mess with the Zohan with Adam Sandler. For those that remember that, You Don't Mess with the Zohan. Disco, disco, ooh, ooh, disco, disco.
I'm sure there's some
Adam
people
Sandler.
that are trying not to remember it.
Ah, man, but hey, she was fine.
I mean, they all look recognizable. They just have those familiar faces. Like the guy who played her fiance in the movie, I believe that was Jeremy Sisto. He looks familiar, but I don't really recognize him from anything. He was in Clueless, which I've never seen.
What you mean? Like, wait, hold on a minute. Wait a minute. You stop that right now. Come back to that. He was in 6 Feet Under, and he was in a lot of those HBO movies. You've never seen Clueless?
I've never seen Clueless.
Alicia
It's a chick
Silverstone,
flick.
whatever. First and foremost, classic lines there, man. Classic lines. I don't even care if that's a chick flick. That was a good movie though. Rollin' with the Homies, that was our song. Brittany Murphy, Coolio, Rollin' with the Homies. You could say it's a chick flick, but it's one of the things that really defined the '90s for talking the Valley Girl speech.
And I also see a very young Paul Rudd in it, so now I've got to find it.
Oh, dude, you gotta watch it. She plays her. He plays her stepbrother. Oh, well, kind of like your stepbrother, but not really like your stepbrother. But it's one of the things where it's just like he plays like the love interest, so to speak. You'll see it. You'll see it. You'll see it. Breckin Meyer's in it, man, from Road Trip, from the Garfield series. Breckin frickin' Meyer.
Yeah. So
No.
no.
Breckin Meyer. No.
I really shouldn't be doing this show, should I? So wrong. I believe everyone in the series opens up with a random couple getting killed in the opening scene, and then you play the credits, and then it gets into the actual plot. Usually, this is where you get the worst actors in the opening scene, but we'll get into that as the series goes on. There wasn't really any bad acting in the original. It was pretty good. I think it got criticized because it came out around the same time as the Hills Have Eyes remake, which was amazing. Probably one of the best horror remakes out there.
I mean, yeah, just to go off what you're saying, like this film came out in 2003 when a lot of those movies, like you mentioned, came out. It's one of the things where they all kind of like blend in together, but it was very cool. I remember seeing like The Hills Have Eyes, there was a lot of big horror films that came out trailer-wise that I remember seeing. I remember looking at my dad talking about that, looking at the Islip Theater and going to want to see those on Long Island. But yeah, no, those really stick out to me. I'm glad that you actually brought that up. And then there's also where I look at it like this. Now, you were talking about actors and actresses in these films. One that stick out is the guy who plays Evan, Kevin Zegers. Remember the original Air Bud when they're playing basketball, the original Air Bud?
See, again, he looks familiar.
He's the kid from the original Air Bud. But the dog?
Ooh.
And Lindy Booth, who plays Francine, was known for playing Hawk in the famous Jet Jackson with the late, great Lee Thompson Young.
Oh, he was... Oh, wait a minute. I recognize him as a kid because he was in the 99 version of Treasure Island with Jack Palance. I believe I've seen every version of Treasure Island.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he was in Frozen.
I recognized him as a kid.
He was in Frozen. Let it go.
Yes.
Let it go. Oh, he was. Wait a minute. He's Life with Mikey. Little Mikey Chapman, where the friggin' Michael J. Fox. Life with Mikey. He's coming. Look out. There's trouble in store for you. That one.
Oh, wait a minute. There was a cartoon series of Free Willy that he was in?
Okay, first and foremost, when you think of Free Willy, I don't think of the cartoon version. I didn't even know there was a cartoon version of Free Willy.
No, me neither. What the hell?
Like, first and foremost, there's nothing will ever beat Free Willy and Michael Jackson, say you'll be there, oh me, that infamous scene. No, I never even knew there was a cartoon version of Free Willy until now we're talking about it.
Well, damn you. This is why you choose Netpicks. You find out stuff we didn't know.
Yeah, man. Friggin' Kevin Zegers and Allison Court. Yo! Allison Court was on that show. You know who Allison Court is? Lunette the Clown on the big, comfy couch. Dude, I used to watch that every week for all the time, and she's doing the clock thing. Damn, friggin' Allison Court on the big, comfy couch. You had the dust bunnies under the friggin' couch. Jesus, man, that was my childhood. Channel 13, Channel 21, WLIW. Oh. Yeah, big, comfy couch.
He was also in an episode of Goosebumps, the Let's Get Invisible episode. Goosebumps is a throwback too. Oh,
another one. MVP. I'm still shocked that this is not on Disney Plus yet. MVP, Most Valuable Primate, with the chimp playing hockey.
Yes. Did they do one? Didn't they do like 3 of them? One was like hockey, one was basketball, one was ice.
Yes, there are
ice skating, surfing. Not surfing.
There was MVP, Most Vertical Primate, which was skateboarding, and then there was MVP, Most Extreme Primate, which was pretty much what have you. Yeah, whatever the fuck that one is.
Kevin did quite a few horrors in the early 2000s, and that's the point I was going to make as well. There was a lot of horror. They had a certain style in the early 2000s of horror movie, where they were cheap, but they weren't as poorly made as they are today when they're low budget. Like, there was also a sequel to Blair Witch I think it was the year 2000 actually, that was set obviously it was set in the woods, but it wasn't, found footage. It was an actual movie made film, and it was just weird, and it was so confusing. And there was a VHS version where there was little bits hidden in the background, and then at the end it told you to go back to these certain scenes, and you'd notice little clues, and it was so weird.
Yeah, I think for me that was around the time when I remember seeing, like you talk about early 2000s horror. I remember there was Cabin Fever, which had Ryder Strong, Boy Meets World in it. There was a Ghost Ship, if you remember Ghost Ship.
Yep.
Yeah, it was all pretty much the same, but they had their own style. Like, you're correct on that. And I think the only reason I remember seeing it is because, like, those trailers, like, really stick out. And if you see early 2000s horror, y'all know what I'm talking about. But, yeah, those films just, like, stick out. It has, like, different type of hauntings, their own different type of feel. I think there was also a House of a Thousand Corpses, the Rob Zombie stuff, but, yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're in a league of their own, Rob Zombie stuff.
That they are.
There was actually a recent remake of Cabin Fever, and it was almost frame for frame, and it was really good. Not disappointed at all.
Okay. Now, you see, you say that, but I also do remember, like, when we're talking about, this is actually going towards almost mid-2000s, right? So, did you see The Butterfly Effect with Ashton Kutcher?
I know it, and it's familiar, but I don't think I've seen it.
So he pretty much has this thing where he, like, goes back in time and he can, like, think about old memories, and pretty much he alters his future with going back to these memories, right? The Butterfly Effect. Yeah. So he's in this, and it's very, very good. Then they did a direct-to-DVD movie of it, like, years later, and it's not the same like the Ashton Kutcher movie, and it absolutely sucked. So it's one of these things where it's like you can have something like that's an integral part of Ashton Kutcher's career, and then they fucking put that into direct-to-DVD, and it sucked. Like, for me, it's like when they did the number 23 in the, like, 2007. Like, for me, I'm a Jim Carrey fan. I love his comedy shtick. But when they did the number 23, I'm like, I don't think of Jim Carrey as this horror, like, not talk about the number 23 and having to come back to the Bible and all this different type of, schmaz, right? And I'm just like, no. So sometimes you just got to say no. Like I said, no to the Butterfly Effect too. And I said no to the number 23. I also said no to the Lost Boys 2, The Tribe, and Lost Boys friggin' whatever it was. Anything that was direct to DVD, because Corey Haim was in the ending of that for like 5 seconds, and then Lost Boys, the third one that was on direct to DVD, absolutely suckity, suck, because nothing will beat the original Lost Boys. It's stuff like that just pisses you off.
Yeah. You know what else pisses me off?
What?
When they change the appearance of a character who appears in every movie in the series.
Mm-hmm.
So in the first one, there's there is only 3 of them. Cannibal, mutants, mountain men, whatever you want to call them. And I believe, I don't want to ruin it, but, a couple of them die. And then one of them is in every one in the series, but he dies in the third one. And then they reboot it in the fourth one. And then 4, 5, and 6 are a prequel. We're getting into Star Wars territory with the timelines. But
you know what this reminds me of? Because, again, going back to Brittany Savage for a second, she's the one that showed me this. Like, were you a fan of the Final Destination films?
yeah. Well,
okay.
The earlier ones.
Yeah. So, how many they had, like, right now? 5, right? Because I remember the last one, there was, like, a bridge or some shit like that. So, there's going to be, like, a 6th one, I believe, coming out in October. They're finally going to pull the trigger on the 6th one.
It was good, and then it got to, like, relying too much on 3D.
Yes. I actually remember seeing the 4th one, 3D, on the racetrack in theaters. Oh. And I think I remember... Well, you know what's funny about that? A lot of people don't realize, like, the 3rd one, where they're on the roller coaster, right? Do you know who plays... You know who's in the movie, right? You know who plays like an extra, has like a small part in the movie?
Oh, an extra? No. I know the main cast.
Brooke Hogan.
Oh, God.
Before she started her singing career, she had like a brief part in Final Destination 3.
And then she went on to Three-Headed Shark Attack.
Yes.
I'm going to be doing a Leonardo DiCaprio thing in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood now. Next time I watch Final Destination 3, just looking out for Brooke Hogan, like, there she is.
Yes, that's true. But yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, I love those films, but yeah, after a while, it kind of gets meh. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember when I first saw the Paranormal Activity movies in the theaters, I'm just like, okay, this is fine. But after you get to like 5, 6, it's like, okay.
Well, you know what else was stupid about it?
What?
The 4th one was called The Final Destination, and then they made a 5th one.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, there was Final Destination 3D, and then just Final Destination 5 were on a bridge.
It was like the Saw franchise. It was like they said one was going to be the last one, and then they made a sequel again.
Too many. That's what they do. They don't know when to stop, and then they just say they're going to stop, and then they keep going. They're the fucking Energizer Bunny of horror films.
Yeah, exactly the case for the Wrong Turn series. They just kept going and going. The one redeeming thing I can say about them is they are so gory. Like, they are brutal.
You know what that reminds me of? Like, have you seen the original and the remakes of I Spit on Your Grave?
Yes.
Oh my God! You want to talk about
yes.
gore? They beat the crap out of them. There's chopping off of the private area.
Uh-huh.
It makes Lorena Bobbitt look tame. You know what I'm saying? And it's just Yep. Watch both of them. Watch the ones from the 70s and watch the remakes. It's buck wild.
You mentioned that chopping the bits off.
Yes.
There's a part of that in Hostel 2.
Oh.
With a pair of scissors, and the camera's right on it, and it's just throw up in your mouth kind of stuff.
I have to see this just because of the imagery of this and the goriness now. Just because you have me curious.
Yeah, fortunately, you don't see any genital mutilation in the Wrong Turn series, but you do see a lot of...
That is the first time we've had that on a podcast. Genital mutilation. Yes, Dazzy Dangerously. Yes.
This is gonna be the first time I say this on a podcast too. There is a lot of body parts getting cut off and sliced off and stuff.
Weird Al. Weird Al had an album titled "Running with Scissors." That gives a whole new meaning.
Yeah, definitely don't run in the woods with scissors. So the first one is very simple. A group of friends get lost in the woods, get hunted down one by one, and get killed by a bunch of cannibals. Crazy thing is, there is, I think, 2 survivors. None of them appear in the sequels, and you'd think they'd have told somebody. you know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, there is a sequel, and this time there's a reality show taking place in the woods, led by Henry Rollins, who I think saved the second one because it was kind of, it was literally The Condemned meets The Hills Have Eyes. It was nuts. Um, and obviously the contestants get killed off one by one, and Henry Rollins kind of turned on his ultimate 80s action hero, ex-marine type of character, taking down everybody and saving the day. I'm not sure, I don't remember if he got killed or not. Actually, yeah, I think he did, without spoiling it, sorry people. But there's 6 of these films, obviously a lot of people are going to die. The third one is awful. The third one is about a prison van that crashes in the woods, and the convicts are all, they're a chain gang, so they're all stuck together, and they kind of try and make their way through the woods while being hunted down by the one remaining cannibal, whose name is Three Finger because he's got 3 fingers. Then the fourth one is kind of the reboot, where Three Fingers and his 2 brothers grow up in an asylum, and they manage to break out, and everybody just dies. It's just chaos. And a group of friends get lost in the snow. They seek shelter in the asylum, unaware that these 3 cannibals are living there. And you can imagine what happens next. And there's one really annoying scene where one of them is sort of attached to a table with barbed wire, so obviously he can't move. And the 3 brothers are cutting him up, and his friends can hear all of this going on down the hall. And while they're hearing him screaming and everything, they're trying to decide what to do by having a very long debate, which flicks back and forth between them debating and the guy getting cut up about what they should do. It's like literally trying to arrange a night out and like where you're gonna eat. It's that kind of discussion while their buddy's getting cut up. Like, maybe maybe it's a trap. Maybe they're making him fake it, or just go and help him. Just shut up and go and help him. Fifth one is set in a very small abandoned town. Well, not abandoned. Everybody's gone to this festival, and so the only people left in the town are a group of friends, the sheriff, and the 3 brothers, and their father, who was in the first and second one, but he's played by a completely different person in the fourth one. He's actually played by Doug Bradley, who some people will, in the fifth one, sorry, some people will recognise as Pinhead in the Hellraiser series, which is also very gory and graphic. It also stars, now, Michael, obviously we've talked about Game of Thrones on Throne Zone, and I've never really addressed how familiar you are with Game of Thrones. I'm pretty sure you're not like a hardcore fan, right?
No, but I am aware of Game of Thrones, yes.
Yeah. Well, there was an actress from a British soap opera called Hollyoaks who moved on to Game of Thrones, called Roxanne McGee. She was also in this one. And apart from Doug Bradley, she was the only person recognisable. And that's kind of what they do with long ass numbered horror sequels. They get one recognizable person and kind of bank on them being recognized to draw people in. Yeah, so the fifth one's kind of like Rambo meets Hills Have Eyes, where they're all stuck in the sheriff's office. And then the sixth one is they made the classic mistake of taking the main antagonists and very much minimalizing their role in the movie. So the 3 brothers were kind of background antagonists, and the main villains were the people running this hotel, where the guests were getting basically fed to the 3 brothers. So that's that one for you. And kind of a bad thing about the sixth one is the only recognizable person is another actress who appeared in a British soap opera called Emmerdale, and she was kind of controversial a year or 2 ago on Celebrity Big Brother when she falsely accused one of the housemates of punching her. And I don't know if you remember, if you heard about it, Roxanne Pallet. Shit hit the fan all over Twitter. It's called Punchgate.
Okay, now see, that's something that interests me. You know what I'm saying about that? That's something that really intrigues me. It also kind of reminds me of, okay, now she's not British, but she was Irish. Remember Samantha Mumba?
Yes, of course.
She did a couple horror films I remember at the time that were kind of eh. You know what I'm saying? Do you remember like the horror films that
Wait, she
Samantha
did horror
Mumba?
films? I only know her from the Time Machine remake.
Oh yeah, well of course the Time Machine, but she actually did a couple of horror movies that a lot of people don't realize. Like for me, I grew up with Samantha Mumba with Gotta Tell You and Baby Come
Yeah.
On Over Tonight. Hey man, don't disrespect my early 2000s. Forget what we had in the States here, man. That little Euro popish type of deal. Put some respect on Samantha Mumba's name, but I digress. She was in movies like Boy Eats Girl and Spin the Bottle and Johnny Was. She did a couple horror films.
Okay, now Googling.
Yeah, she was in Boy Meets Girl. It's about a zombie. A teenage boy comes back to life as a zombie. She was in Spin the Bottle, which is a 2003 Irish film, and she was in Johnny Was, which is a gangster movie directed by Mark Hamill.
Okay.
Yeah, Samantha Mumba. She goes from doing Baby Come On Over and Gotta Tell You to horror films.
Yeah, she has a longer filmography than I knew about. And on the flip side, she also has a shorter discography than I knew about. I always thought she released more than one album.
You know what pisses me off about that? Like I mean, I don't know if you're a fan of her artistic work, as I was. Just again,
I was when I was 10.
First of all, put some respect on her name, mind you. When this CD came out, and I remember watching on TRL very vividly. I was 8 years old, coming home from Rusey Kinney Elementary School, and bada bing, bada boom. Homework's done. Put on some TRL with Carson Daly. Samantha Mumba is on my TV screen, and so yes, this was very popular around the summer of 2000 that song came out. And what's interesting about it, if you actually look at her discography here with the songs, like Lately was featured in the Jet Jackson movie, which actually featured Michael Ironside as the villain in that movie. You had Gotta Tell You, had Baby Come On Over, which features a sample of Kool and the Gang's Ladies Night. So yeah, man, there's like a lot of things that a lot of people don't realize about the Mumba. Not talking about Chumba Mumba, I'm talking about the Mumba. Go ahead.
Nice little connection there. Michael Ironside was one of the villains in the movie of Free Willy.
That is true. You know what I remember him also from? You know, Miyagi, put your lights out. The next Karate Kid.
Yeah, I've always avoided that, and I kind of got a glimpse of it the other day, and God, it was horrible.
Hey, I'll look at Hillary Swank all day, every day, though.
That's the thing. I read about it, and it was like it was Hilary Swank's breakout role, and you know, I'm not saying she's a bad actress, but man, she was annoying in that film.
Julie-san, yes. I mean, but the part of it, like,
every single one of her lines began with Mr. Miyagi.
You could come in, Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi! Like, everything, emotions. Mr. Miyagi! Mr. Miyagi! Like, yeah, I can see where that gets annoying, but yeah, it was just, you know what I'm saying? But again, you had to have someone from Ralph Macchio, Daniel-san, now we have Julie-san, and she was just, it's the female version of what you're trying to incorporate there, so she had to be, vulnerable, the whole nine. She's got the hawk with the clipped wing, hello.
Yeah, and on the topic of Karate Kid, everybody's kind of telling me to obviously watch Cobra Kai. I've only ever seen the first ever episode, so I need to get back into it.
Yeah, that's something I have to see. And I mean, for me, I'll be honest with you, because it's such a hot topic, if you will. And no, I'm not talking about the friggin' clothing line and the store, the whole nine. But for me, like, this was also around the time when the damn Tiger King came out. And I'll be honest with you. No, here's the thing. I watched that because the guy that's in there, one of the guys, the Doc Andel, is actually one of the people who's in Myrtle Beach here that has that place with the the alligators and the whole nine and the friggin' the whole nine. You know what I'm talking about, the animal guy, right? So he has the safari here, the Myrtle Beach Safari, and he's one of the guys that's been investigated, much like Joe Exotic. I'm surprised that Doc Antel's not in jail yet. And then of course Carol Baskin, who Brittany Miss Savage once more sent me her performance on Dancing with the Stars, because out of all the people that put on Dancing with the Stars, you put Carol fucking Baskin. And you want to know what's interesting about her performance?
Well, I know she danced to Eye of the Tiger, of course.
Oh, so the dancer, the way it's set up, the performance, they have the dancing cage, right? So the dancer, her partner, comes out of the cage, starts running, and all of a sudden, dun, 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 and they start dancing to Eye of the Tiger. And I'm like, How fucking fitting that the fucking Eye of the Tiger she dances to. And I'm like, come on. And she didn't do bad, but it's just like, Eye of the Tiger, Eye of the Tiger. Like, we didn't see this coming. You know what I'm saying? Hello.
They were talking about it on a British morning show this morning, Lorraine. I don't know if you know Lorraine
Lorraine, I
Kelly.
want you to sit out of here, Lorraine. Sorry.
Don't know if you know Lorraine Kelly. Very long-running Scottish TV host. Anyway,
Hold on, I gotta look up Lorraine Kelly like I used to do for what's her face?
Rachel
Oh my God.
Riley.
Rachel Riley. There you go. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Lorraine Kelly, not bad, but she's no Rachel Riley. Okay.
So, she was talking to this dude who does Hollywood reviews and stuff, and he was talking about Dancing with the Stars.
Mhm.
And he has to make the controversial comment of Carol Baskin saying, "Yeah, she got eaten alive just like her ex-husband." Wait, I didn't actually say that on live TV. She didn't. Her ex-husband absolutely did not get eaten alive. Let's move on.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
You go. So as far as Wrong Turn goes, 6.1 IMDb, which is great, all things considered, because IMDb, is also quite difficult to please. 40% Rotten Tomatoes isn't too bad, I guess. So when it comes to rating these later on, I'm only going to rate the first one, just to make it fair. So, what is your second movie or series?
Okay, so like I said, I've watched 2 of these this week. Again, work was a motherfucker. And like Lawrence Tucker, use a motherfucker. How do you want it? Tupac, Casey, and JoJo. I digress. My second movie that I did watch is because I remember seeing this as a kid. Like, it premiered on NBC on May 13th, 1996. But I think they also had a replay of this on Lifetime because I remember going around on the old TV there on the weekend, and my mom and I were looking for something to watch. And this happened to come across our viewing pleasure, if you will. So the movie is May 13, 1996, and it stars Melissa Joan Hart, Daniel Baldwin, Jeremy Jordan, who is a very popular artist, which I'll discuss in this little thing here, and David Lasher, and it's called Twisted Desire. It is based off the 1990 murders of the parents of 14-year-old Jessica Wiseman.
I believe I've heard of it.
So Jessica Wiseman, this is built off, had her 17-year-old boyfriend Douglas Christopher Thomas shoot and kill her parents. Thomas was executed in 2000 with the death penalty for juveniles was still legal punishment. And now she was charged for 2 degrees of murder, but she went home scot-free and the other one died. That's who you get involved with. Someone who tells you to kill your parents and you die and she still lives. Ain't that a son of a bitch?
It is. What's interesting, looking at the cast, though, I believe a few years later, didn't David Lasher play Melissa Joan Hart's new boyfriend in Sabrina?
Yes,
Wasn't
he was
Josh?
Yes, and he was in Blossom, and he was in Hey Dude, the Dude Ranch show from Nickelodeon.
Oh, so he was the face of Nickelodeon back in the day.
Pretty much. And Jeremy Jordan was a singer. He had that song, My Love Is good enough place to start. Remember Airborne with Jack Black and the dude from The Next Karate Kid was in it. It had Shane McDermott, Seth Green was in it, one of the early films of them. Remember Airborne?
No, but he looks like the quintessential 90s boy band guy.
Okay, so here's the thing. That song was featured in that film. And what's interesting about Airborne is that was the film where, like, he's from, I believe, like Hawaii or whatever, or California, and he's surfing, right? Then he comes to friggin' Colorado or wherever the fuck that they are. I forgot the place. But they're skateboarding, they're playing hockey, and, they're skating, and he doesn't know anything about this. He's totally out of his element. So that's one of the early films of Jack Black and Homeland Airborne. That song, My Love Is Good Enough, was featured in that film. In the scene where they're in, like, this place where they're, like, the aquarium, whatever it is, but they're going through this thing, and they're skating, and he's going beep beep like he's the fucking Roadrunner. So it's one of those things where he's trying to press the girl. So Airborne is definitely one to check out if you want to see early Jack Black in like a very small role. Check out Airborne. It's not bad. It's with Mitchell Musin, I believe was the dude's name. But yeah, Airborne. It's a movie. Shane McDermott. I'll definitely check it out, Daz. It's kind of cheesy, but it's worth it.
Young Jack Black. This would have been around the same time as Neverending Story Part 3 then.
Yes,
which also had a very young Jack Black.
1993 was Airborne, as I'm looking at this. Let me see how friggin' off I was. Okay, so his parents go to Australia, and he goes to in Cincinnati. My apologies, Cincinnati, Ohio. I don't know why I said Colorado, but yeah, he's from like California, dude, bruh. And then he goes to fucking Cincinnati, Ohio, and now he's playing street hockey and rollerblading, bruh. So yes, evolution. Anyway, I digress. You look at Twisted Desire, right?
Right.
It's one of those films where it's based off of something that's true from the 1990s. And here's what's funny about the time period here. Melissa Joan Hart. This is 2 years after Clarissa Explains It All. Na 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 on Nickelodeon, right? So 4 months after this was the debut of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the show. So this is 4 months before we got Sabrina, and this is what interested about me. Because when you look at Melissa Joan Hart, you think of Sabrina, you think of Clarissa Explains It All, you think of Drive Me Crazy, right? I would never expect her to be in this type of role because she's nuts. You know what I'm saying? You have the strict parenting of Daniel Baldwin, and his wife was in this too, which is also very interesting. You know, Daniel Baldwin and his wife, Isabella Hoffman, who are a couple in real life, and they play her parents in this. Very strict, won't let her go out. You know, I want her to go to sleep early.
Well, I know one thing, I wouldn't fuck with a Baldwin.
Oh, no, you would know. You know what I'm saying? You rude, thoughtless little pig, you. Absolutely, that's what she was. So
Put that coffee down.
Put the coffee down. Yes. So they're very strict, won't let her go out. So she's with this dude, Brad. And then she meets Jeremy Jordan, who's done time in prison. And pretty much they fall in love. They're having, relations or making out in their bed. Daniel Baldwin finds out, pretty much saying, I'm going to accuse you of statutory rape, the whole nine, threatens him. And what happens is she's so sick and tired of this, so she has him shoot her parents. And then, he, you know what I'm saying, they're trying to cover it up. But they find out that it is Jeremy Jordan who did do it because she's manipulating, right? She's like, I can't believe he'd do this and yada, yada. She's manipulating so she could go with that dude, Brad, who she was with in the beginning of the film. And it's just this whole big mind fuck where she's not so innocent. To quote Britney Spears, who she was in the music video for You Drive Me Crazy, what a tangle web we weave here, Dazzy Dangerously. So she's fucking not that innocent, and she's friggin' just manipulating, right? She's trying to be with her former guy that she was interested, Brad, right? So it's one of the things where we find it in her diary. She set him up to do it so she could get her parents out of the way, have the house, the whole nine. Oh my God, what a woman this is. You know what I'm saying? You know what I gotta say? When Chris Brown was talking about hoes ain't loyal before he smacked a bitch, this is what he was talking about, Dazzy Dangerously. It is just a whirlwind of emotions from top to bottom, and then, he's wearing the wire. She winds up getting convicted. Oh my God, the manipulation is just at its finest, and it really has a nice little twist and turn. But she's not America's sweetheart. She is someone who's vindictive, manipulative, and is just thrown through your emotions. He went to jail for a girl who thought he was a loser, planted the gun in the woods, man, thought they got rid of it. She gives the tip off to the police and calls anonymously on the payphone, Maroon 5 style, Dazzy Dangerously, and knocks off where the hell he put it in the woods. And no, I'm not talking about when Lorena Bobbitt threw his penis in the woods, for God's sake. 9 hours of surgery. That is what hurts. Boom. So it's one of the things where it's one of these things where, like I mentioned, whirlwind of emotions. It's a great film, not to spoil anything, but I would definitely go out of your way to watch it. If you want to see Melissa Joan Hart, not in a very comedy aspect, not in a very teeny bopper type film, Twisted Desire is your film. Definitely check it out.
What we're saying is, before she was Sabrina the Teenage Witch, she was the teenage bitch.
Exactly. And also, if you look at the cast here, the guy that plays the detective, Kurt Fuller, who was the cop in Scary Movie, he was in Ghostbusters, he was in Wayne's World, he was in No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan, You and Me in the Tree,
Classic.
Brother. Yes. And we also had, like I mentioned, Isabella Hoffman, Daniel Baldwin. We had Meadow Sisto, who played her friend. She was a jazz singer, and she was actually in freaking Captain Ron. She was the kid in Captain Ron. She played Caroline. She was with Kurt Russell and Martin Short. Remember Captain Ron?
No.
You've never seen Captain Ron? Oh my God! You got to see Captain Ron. Kurt Russell, Martin Short. Hello. They're on a boat. They're on a ship. The whole nine. Oh, it's good stuff. Sailor.
Well, there's I couldn't actually see a rotten rating for this one, so all I saw was IMDb gave it 5.9. Again, it's not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. But definitely, if anybody has never seen Twisted Desire, it's directed by Craig B. Craig P. Baxley. It's Craig R. Baxley. P. Baxley. What the hell's wrong with me? Craig R. Baxley. It's a good film. It's something that if you've not seen it and it's based off the true story, watch it. You know what it kind of is like, to also relate it to our promo stuff. You know how we had Lizzie Borden back in the late 1800s giving her parents 40 whacks and she killed her parents. Man, I remember that whole Lizzie Borden thing, and I'm not talking about the wrestler. I'm talking about Lizzie Borden, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Think of when Nikla and I went at it in the promo climax last year, right? Where she threatened to axe me. That's what this is like. You know what I'm saying? But Nicola would be in the form of a teenage sweetheart, or a teenage bitch instead of a teenage witch, right? So think of Nicola trying to axe me in the promo climax last year. This is what kind of equates to that.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, if I wanted to dabble in what we do on Max Wrestling Podcast, think of Axon. She would be that crazy bitch. And also, if you look throughout the entire thing, fake tears. Fake tears, Dazzy Dangerously, because she knows she just wanted to axe the parents, get rid of them, shoot them, and she's like, I practically had to do it myself. What a loser. Because she was that tired of being strict, trying to be closed off. She felt like fucking Rapunzel is what she felt like, Dazzy Dangerously. Friggin' Cinderella, just all cooped up in her room. She was tired of it. But then again, if you actually look at the overall foundation of parenthood and the overall thing, like, I was raised strict, so I understand it, but it's also good for you. And sometimes you gotta break free, like Scott Stappen trying to find religion. Anyway, I digress. Creed. So it's one of the things where it's just like, you gotta break free. You have to get out of the shell, this bubble that you feel that you're in. You feel suffocated. And I'm talking about Cold, Suffocate, man, 2003. Year of the Spider. Hello, Dazzy Dangerously. Can you feel me?
Amazing album.
Yes! So it's one of those things where it's just like, you understand it, and you also can realize, hey, you know what? I wouldn't kill my parents, but it's one of the things where it's just like, you know, you want that sense of freedom. You want to go to parties. You want to partay, P-A-R-T-Y, partay, and just partake in certain things, whether it be sleeping over at a friend's house or the whole nine, but you're so cooped up in there, and it's just like, goddamn, let me live. Let me free. You know what I'm saying? Not let me in, but let me free. So, I mean, I can understand it from that point, how we've seen that in a lot of films. You know what I'm saying? Where there's all this angst, so to speak. She's got that angst. You know what I'm saying? That angst. So, I mean, it all works itself out, but it's very twisted angst. And at the end, she gets her comeuppance, even though friggin' Jeremy Jordan's character gets fucking life and on death row while she walks away scot-free, walking willy-nilly into the, to the spectrum of life there. But my God, it's a film for you, people. Check it out. 1996, Twisted Desire. Melissa Joan Hart in a whole different light.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you only know her as Sabrina or Clarissa or Melissa, then yeah, it's probably very interesting to see an evil Melissa Joan Hart.
Yes, and she's also a big wrestling fan too. So
yeah.
If you want to get pissed off for her calling Kevin Owens boring, there
he blocked her.
Oh, I remember that. That sticks out of my mind vividly. And you know why I also have to rep Melissa Joan Hart for this, man? Do you want to know why?
Go ahead.
She's from Long Island, man. Smithtown, New York. Represent. Representing L.I.
Okay, so, again, I don't have one single film. I've got two this time. I got one and its sequel. And I chose these two because it ties into an upcoming sequel. And it stars a very, very famous, well, now he's an action star, but back then he was a bit of a comedy star, Keanu Reeves, along with Alex Winter. Okay. Together they are the Wild Stallions, a.k.a. Bill and Ted.
Yes.
First one came out in 1989. I think the second one was 1992. 91, sorry. So if anybody's unfamiliar with Bill and Ted, then you definitely need to check out the first two before Bill and Ted Face the Music. So the first one is basically about two very, I don't want to say brain dead, but they're not very bright, aspiring rock stars who are terrible at high school and are about to fail history class. But somewhere in the future they perfect their music and inspire all of humanity to come together in harmony, perfect harmony. So in the year 2688, Rufus is sent back in time to help them pass their history exam, and thereby keeping them together as friends. Otherwise, Ted's dad's going to send him off to military school in Alaska. So they have to pass a history exam, or Wild Stallions will never happen, and they will never perform perfect music, and humanity will never come together in a perfect society, and let's face it, they're never going to do that anyway. It's very fictional, people. So Rufus goes back in time in a time machine shaped like a phone booth, which is handy because they have a phone book with all these historical events with phone numbers that they can dial, and it'll take them to that historical event. Perfectly planned out. And they run into historical figures such as Billy the Kid, Napoleon, Socrates, Genghis Khan, Beethoven, Lincoln, Sigmund Freud, and Joan of Arc. And what happens is they get them all together, bring them to the future, and as you can imagine, all of these historical figures in 1980s California is just a recipe for disaster. Especially when they visit a place called the Mall.
Ooh.
Well, Napoleon's the first one they take home, and they then realise they need to get more people, so they leave Napoleon in the care of Ted's younger brother and his friends, which doesn't go very well. So they give him some money, they take him to the movies or something. They end up taking Napoleon bowling. Now, Napoleon, of course, doesn't speak English. He only speaks French. I don't know if that's true, but that's how he is in the film, in the movie. So, he discovers such things as ice cream. Well, this huge, giant bowl of ice cream. It's called the Pig. And when you order it, the staff bring this massive dish towards you and then pretty much publicly humiliate you by saying, "Feed the pig." I don't know who would pay for that kind of treatment, but okay.
I don't know either, man.
But just one of the great scenes is Napoleon hitting a gutter ball while bowling, and just yelling "Mert, Mert, 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 Mert," which is French for shit. So he's just yelling "Mert" repeatedly, and all the subtitles are saying shit, 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 shit. So while he's doing this, Ted's brother and his friends basically ditch him. And Napoleon turns around, notices they're gone, he's like, chases after them, and the manager tries to stop him leaving, and he's like, "Excusez-moi, monsieur. Whoa, 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 you ain't paid yet, buddy." Peh. So, Napoleon gets banned from the bowling alley. And so when Ted goes to confront his brother about losing Napoleon, he's like, You ditched Napoleon? He was a dick." According to history, Napoleon was a dick.
Well, yeah.
So you know where they find Napoleon?
Where do they find Napoleon?
At a water park.
Of course, because when you think of Napoleon, you think of the water park.
And he's just at the top of this giant slide, looking down, thinking, "What the hell do I do?" And obviously, there's a big line of kids waiting behind him, and the lifeguard or whatever is like, "Dude, come on, this kid's waiting." So he just shoves Napoleon down the slide. Napoleon is screaming like a girl. He hits the pool at the bottom, and then can't wait to get back to the top, pushing past all these kids to do it again. So, oh man, Billy the Kid and Socrates become best friends, which there's a mismatch for you. You got a cowboy and an ancient Greek philosopher who hilariously tried to pick up on two girls at the mall. The girls laugh in their face, when Sigmund Freud tries to help him, they refer to them as geeks. Socrates then laughs, and he calls Sigmund Freud a geek. Sigmund Freud is like, "What is a geek?" Joan of Arc discovers aerobics and kind of takes over an aerobics class. Basically, they all get arrested for causing mayhem in the mall. Genghis Khan tries to start a fight with the police in a sports shop. So yeah, ultimately, this then leads Bill and Ted to trying to break them out of jail, which coincidentally I don't know if he's a chief or a detective or what, but Ted's dad is a policeman, basically. So, Ted, early on in the movie, Ted's dad can't find his keys. And what happens is Ted decides to steal the keys to break everybody out of jail. And that's how, in the past, Ted's dad can't lose his keys. Time travel, magic. So, of course, it all ends up in a history report in front of the whole school. Bill and Ted are letting the historical figures tell their stories. And that's how they pass the history exam. Now, the second one, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, is... let me think what this one was about. Because all I remember is death. So, in the future, evil Bill and Ted robots are sent back in time to kill the real Bill and Ted. And they do so. And they end up in hell for some reason. I didn't think they were that bad. But to escape from hell, they end up facing the Grim Reaper, playing for their lives, basically. Which is pretty much a nod to the Seventh Seal, where they obviously play chess. But they don't play chess in Bill and Ted. They play Twister. They play Clue, aka Cluedo in the UK. They play a Super Bowl game. Just basically, death loses everyone. So at first it's best of 3, because Death lost the first one. Then it's best of 5. Then it's best of 7, and eventually Death agrees to let them go. But he now also has to serve Bill and Ted. Death is also played by the brilliant character actor William Sadler, who was in Shawshank, among many, many other films as just a background character. Well, not really a background character, but he plays certain characters. He was also the main villain in Die Hard 2.
Yes, and he was also in Hard to Kill with Steven Seagal, the whole nine there. Iron Man, yes. I do actually remember that dude. I remember seeing him in a lot of films too, yeah. Well, it doesn't matter if it's a background character, but for me, very memorable for me. And also he was in The Green Mile, which again, one of the most underrated films, because a lot of people don't give a lot of Green Mile the praise, you know?
Yeah. There's a great line as well in Shawshank where they're digging for rocks, and he picks one up and he's like, "Hey, I got a real good one here." And Morgan Freeman's like, nah. That's not a rock. And he's like, "Bullshit. No, it's horse shit."
You know? By the way, not to get you off, but when you're talking about Bill and Ted, you know what it is too? Like that, like as a kid born in '92, like my earliest memory of Keanu Reeves, there's like Point Break, and then there's also, of course, the Matrix films. So like, my memory's a little bit fuzzy about Bill and Ted, the original. I know they have a new one coming out, but yeah, I think that's one of his most iconic roles. Like you could look Keanu Reeves from his basis of overall acting. Now this is before Point Break too, because I think Point Break came out like right after this, right?
Yes. Well, it was definitely after the first one.
Yeah, because I think Point Break was, what, like 93 or something like that?
Point Break was 91, so it was the same year as the second Bill and Ted.
All right, excuse me, 91. All right, as I said, early 90s, so okay, good.
There's also this bizarreness of Bill and Ted when they end up in medieval England. And I don't actually know what they went there for, but they come across these 2 princesses and they decide to try and break them out. So they open the door and they're met with, I guess, the king and all these lords behind him. And the introduction from Bill and Ted is, "How's it going, royal ugly dudes?" To which the king replies, "Put them in the Iron Maiden." Now, Bill and Ted obviously are metalheads and they think this is an amazing prize or something, like Iron Maiden. And they obviously their trademark thing is air guitaring, which they do. And the king then responds again with, "Execute them." To which Bill and Ted respond with, "Bogus." So in the second one, a treat you get near the end is Will Sadler dressed as the Grim Reaper. rapping.
What does he rap?
He raps you. Ooh, let me see if I can remember this. Something about you can be a street sweeper, but sooner or later you dance with the Reaper.
See, you know what? I can appreciate that. That's 90s rap right there for you.
Yeah, so in the second one, their future as the Wild Stallions is at risk again because now I remember. Not only do they have to not be killed, which is a little too late, but luckily they can come back from the dead thanks to the Reaper. They also have to win a talent contest, which is going to be televised all around the world. And it ends up, obviously, they have to stop the evil Bill and Ted from killing everybody at the talent contest. And then they perform this great song. So, obviously, they save the day. They then go into the future and come back as established musicians and perform a great version of God Gave Rock and Roll to You. And that song has been stuck in my head ever since I watched Bill and Ted 2 for the first time many years ago. And I think it ends with the Kiss version being played through the credits. But yeah, this is why I can't really predict how well Bill and Ted 3 is going to do, because it's very much a generational thing. If you don't know Bill and Ted 1 and 2, then you're probably not going to know it. All you're going to know is, oh, it's Keanu Reeves.
I think I look at it for me, like, again, as someone who really hasn't seen the Bill and Ted's in its entirety, but I'm aware of it for the nature, like you mentioned, bogus and the whole nine there.
Yeah.
It's one of the things you have, like, from the 90s. That's the cultural, that's the lingo, you know what I'm saying? It's the representation of the overall 90s logo, and it is a 90s true film, and I think that's the thing about today nowadays with 2019, 2020, with this new one coming out. It's one of the things where, like you mentioned, not people aren't going to recognize it, but, you know, as they say with the old saying, what's old is new and what's new is old. We're introducing a lot of these to the youngins nowadays who can become familiarized with it. So I think it's pretty cool, and people can do their research and adapt to what you saw in the 90s and how they equate it to what it is now, you know?
Yeah, and I probably didn't do it any justice in describing it, because it is so much funnier than it sounds. And the very first scene where we meet Bill and Ted, the introduction is the teacher is, well, Bill, I'm waiting. So Bill responds with, he's dead. So the teacher then says, so your description of Napoleon Bonaparte is he's was dead. A short, dead dude. Yeah. They also both starred George Carlin, who unfortunately passed away in 2008, so obviously he's not going to be in the third one. But I'm trying to see now what else George Carlin was in, because obviously he was a stand-up comedian and did so much comedy stuff, Saturday Night Live included. But yeah, I only really remember him as Rufus in Bill and Ted.
That's the thing, like you mentioned, like when I think of George Carlin too as well, he's mostly the stand-up guy. I never think of him in true films. Has he done anything else besides Bill and Ted that's really recognizable for film-wise?
He's done Scary Movie 3, Jay and Silent Bob.
Oh, yeah.
So he's done a few things.
Yes. Wait, was he the old man in Scary Movie 3 with the whole thing with the chair? You know, you want to make an old man happy. Yeah, you want it. Would you not to make a young man, old man happy? Yes. Yes.
Also, apparently, actually, though, he is kind of going to be in the third one through archival footage and CGI, I guess, which is cool.
I'm down for that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen what they've done recently with, like, Leia in Star Wars, and also there was Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One. So yes, that's your introduction to Bill and Ted. If you've never seen Bill and Ted, it's much funnier than it really is. And there's also a great scene in the second one where they arrive in hell, and there's just chains and elevators and fire everywhere, and a giant, obviously, Satan. So they're both looking up at him, and they're like, who do you suppose that is? And Bill just turns to Ted and he's like, who do you think it is, dude? Oh yeah, Yo, Satan. But yes, okay, let's do 5 films or less. So basically, we're each gonna pick an actor that we've mentioned, and then we have to link them through 5 films or less. So, who do you want to pick first?
Oh, well, I've picked from. Well, let me look for somebody from Twisted Desire because a lot of the people that are in 1VR are probably a lot of people really haven't heard of. Let me see. Okay, well, let's pick. Well, all right, we'll try for Melissa Joan Hart for that one.
Okay, and let's go Keanu Reeves. So let's try to link Melissa Joan Hart to Keanu Reeves in 5 films or less. Now, obviously, her filmography is very small, so that should make it easy on her end.
Mm-hmm.
Keanu Reeves is obviously recently been in the John Wick movies. You can also include Toy Story, I guess, because he was Duke Kaboom.
Mm-hmm.
So, who else was in Twisted Desire?
Daniel Baldwin.
Okay. Let's. Ooh, actually, her filmography is quite long. Oh, I didn't know she was in Recess.
Yes, Becky Detweiler, man.
She was TJ's sister.
Yeah.
All right.
Hell yes.
Well, she's done a lot of voice stuff then as well.
Yes.
Okay. Oh man.
See, I'm trying to look Daniel Baldwin up in this bitch, man. Hold on.
Oh wow.
What?
So she was in a TV movie called Holiday in Handcuffs with Mario Lopez,
Oh man.
aka
Slater.
AC Slater.
Yep.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Now there's a connection for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. There was also a Sabrina movie.
I don't talk about. That's Sabrina. Okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah, not the other one.
Not the animated Sabrina.
No, there was
hate
another
it.
live action one that she wasn't in.
Oh, we don't talk about.
Yeah, we
that.
won't talk about that. Oh, there we go. She was in. Ryan Reynolds was in the Sabrina movie, so that's opened things up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Has Ryan Reynolds been in anything with Keanu Reeves?
I know he's done National Lampoons, but that's the only thing that really comes out to my attention.
Yeah. Ooh, this would be great if he's been in something with Keanu Reeves, because he can do it in one.
Yeah. See, it's tougher with mine because I get a lot of people that really haven't done a lot of work with Keanu Reeves. You know what I'm saying? Daniel Baldwin, I can't find anything with that. I mean, what's his face? The dude that was that her boyfriend that was also in that. The what's his face? David Lasher. I don't think he's also done anything with Keanu Reeves, to my knowledge. I know he was also in Blossom, which here's how it kind of relates to Melissa Joan Hart. You know who was in Blossom, right?
I know it was Amy Farrah Fowler.
Okay, well, besides that, Joey Lawrence was in that, and Joey Lawrence and Melissa Joan Hart had their own show, Melissa and Joey, on ABC Family.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with Melissa and Joey.
Whoa, Mr. Joey Lawrence, nothing my love can't fix, man. In one fucking hit. Well, here's the thing. For me, Joey Lawrence, when I think of Joey Lawrence, because I was too young for Blossom, he was in a lot of Disney movies, like Horse Sense, where he's this, spoiled rich kid, and then he goes to Montana to learn the hard way, pretty much discipline him with his cousin. And he's in Jumping Ship. Like, he's done a lot of Disney films, too. So, I mean, Joey Lawrence, man. Joey Lawrence. I know Matthew Lawrence from friggin' Mrs. Doubtfire and Boy Meets World, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well, John Wick, we've got Ian McShane, John Leguizamo, I never know how to pronounce his surname.
John Leguizamo.
Willem Dafoe. We also have, oh my god, Kevin Nash.
Which one? Oh, yeah, he was in John Wick. That's right. That's right. You You know what I remember from? Here's the thing about Kevin Nash. Like, I know he's in like a scene. I think he dies in that. It's kind of like when he was the Russian and the Punisher. Remember when he had to cut his hair after he lost that to Jericho in '03? And then he starts filming the Punisher.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I'm still going with Ryan Reynolds. For this. Wait a minute. I think I have it.
Go ahead.
Melissa Joan Hart was in Twisted Desire with... in Sabrina with Ryan Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Reynolds was in Definitely Maybe with Rachel Weisz.
Mm-hmm.
And Rachel Weisz was in Constantine with Keanu Reeves. 3 movies.
Yes. Mine, Diddley Squad. Well, we got Melissa Joan Hart, which is a good thing. But yeah, the rest of mine, Daniel Baldwin and everybody else, not so much.
And that took way too long.
That it did. That's the thing with the chain reaction. What's it like? Was it the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's the thing that everybody connects. But yeah, like I picked the most obscure one that a lot of people don't even remember. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Yeah, well, we did it. That's true. But yeah, Twisted Desire, friggin' on NBC and Lifetime back in the day. I gotta say, from those 2 that I picked, I was happy. It's because one is new, and I hardly ever go on Netflix. The last thing I told you I watched on Netflix was the fucking Tiger King, because everybody wouldn't shut the hell up about it.
Yeah.
And then Twisted Desire comes up in my memory bank, because here's the thing. You know where I actually watched it? I didn't even have to pay for it or anything. You know where it was?
Was it on HBO Max or something?
No, somebody put the whole film on YouTube.
That's bad.
That's bad.
Susie, that's bad.
Yes, thank you, Susie. Sue Young, Impact Wrestling. But no, that's the thing. Like, somebody put the whole film on, not the ones where you have to, like, the movie will be on there, but you'll have to, like, rent or pay, like, a small fee for it to watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
Just the whole film. Just the whole film on YouTube.
Yeah, that's how I watched Stephen King's It for the first time.
Really?
The original, yeah.
Somebody put the whole movie on YouTube?
Well, it was on like 5 parts, but yeah, it was for free on YouTube.
Gotta love.
Okay, let's rank these movies. Obviously, we'll have 2 separate lists, so which one are you going to rank higher? Twisted Desire?
Mm-hmm.
Or...
1BR.
1BR, yeah.
All right, for the fact that it's an old school classic that a lot of people need to check out that's very underrated from 96, and this one's relatively new, I would have to say Twisted Desire ranks higher than that, because when you look at Twisted Desire, it's based off the real life murders. It's based on something that did actually happen, and it tells a good story of just manipulation, and not everything is as it seems, and it just shows a lot of drama and emotion, and just shows how friggin', oh my god, manipulative, and just how friggin' shitty Melissa Joan Hart is, to put it bluntly. But it's a very twist and turn, and we get to see Melissa Joan Hart out of her element from the teeny bopper films that we've seen her in, like Drive Me Crazy and Sabrina and the whole 9, right? And Clarissa. But 1BR has that horror type film, that cult thing, really gets your mind going, and it's like the 1984 movie and book, so to speak, that a lot of people who've not seen or read it should, because it has a thing that really messes with your mind. It's very cult-like, which we've seen a lot of things in real life as well that really encompasses everything and one's way of thinking. So, I mean, I just ranked Twisted Desire just because of the based on like a true story and real life actual events. But you can also look at 1BR, and it shows the actual events that happen with one's mind and things that could happen to one's individual being. But for this one, I have to go Twisted Desire just because of the overall, difference and out of element that you would see from the Melissa Joan Hart persona in one of her films/movies.
Okay, that was probably easier for you than me because you're 2 very similar in type in genre, whereas I've got 1 comedy and 1 horror. So,
yep.
But in terms of rewatchability, I think I'm gonna rate Bill and Ted higher than Wrong Turn. Also because even though Wrong Turn had 5 sequels and Bill and Ted only had 2, the sequel's much better in terms of quality. So Bill and Ted goes above Wrong Turn.
I mean, come on now. You're talking about how that's hard. It's Bill and Ted. It's Bill and Ted. You were talking, I had it different because it was comedy drama. Shut up. Dazzy Dangerously, I've never said this to you. But shut the fuck up, Daz. It's Bill and Ted in Wrong Turn. Come on, man.
But Wrong Turn also had Eliza Dushku.
Okay, well, you got a point there. You beat me on that because you got the hotness of Eliza Dushku. Here's what I want you to do. Have you seen her in The New Guy?
No, I saw her in that sci-fi thing,
Okay,
but I forgot what it was called.
Watch her in the New Guy when they go to the friggin' store and B2K's is playing in the background and she's changing. Oh, what a cutie beauty! She's got the gum running in the mouth. Oh, Dazzy, dangerously, you'll thank me later.
All right. Well, let's see if you'll thank me for the Reel of Fortune.
Ooh.
Let's spin the wheel and find out what topic we will have next week. Also, we may have a guest next week, Travis the Walker Anderson, who you may know from the Max Wrestling podcast, has expressed interest in doing this show with us a couple of times. So let's see. Let's spin the wheel.
Make the deal.
And it is 80s horror.
Oh, nice.
So next episode we will each have 2 80s horror movies to discuss.
Now it could be just ones that we've seen, or just in general overall 80s horror.
Any 80s horror, yeah.
Can we include The Lost Boys, because it technically is horror and comedy?
Yeah, that's horror.
Hell to the yes. Hell to the yes.
All right. Okay, you have been watching listening to the Captain and Mike Larkin. Thank you for netpicking and chilling with us. Don't forget to follow us on social media. There is no account for this show, but make sure you follow Four Corner Union on Twitter, along with Max Wrestling UK, and of course the Max Wrestling Facebook group for all of our shows. And I am also living life on Twitter at Dazzy Brand and the Captain 512. Mike, give him your monologue.
Okay, you guys can check me out on Twitter at SCL92 and pop_culture_pod from everything pop culture from myself and the lovely Miss Brittany Savage. And I do some solo shows, talk about albums and stuff. Brittany comes on, we have fun, and we pretty much go all over the place. And you can check me, of course, on the Max Wrestling podcast. We got promo series coming up, which I will be taking on the lovely Miss Brittany Savage. And we have a lot of fun with trivia and knowledge. Dude, you know what's funny about Max Wrestling and what's awesome about it? We have that alternative thing. Because when you look at the Max Wrestling podcast, you think, okay, they're guys, they're wrestling fans, they talk about wrestling. No, we provide you with promos challenges. We provide you with trivia challenges. It's an alternative. And people, we include you. We want to include you. We want to, give you a little different variety. And that's what's great about the Max Wrestling podcast and the Four Corner Union. You can also check me out with LFC, Lingerie Fighting Championships, the Beauty, Strength, and Dominance podcast. Beauty, Strength, and Dominance are 3 key elements that make women the work of art that they are. You can check us out on WrestlingWithWrestling.com with Andre Corbeil, where him and I do the Wrestling and Wrestling show. Dude, I'm all over the place, and I'm grateful for everybody that I work with, and it's all love, all day, every day, Dazzy Dangerously, and you can check me out on Impact Rewind on Twitter. Just type in Mike Larkin. My links are all there, StephenMikeShow.com, if you want to see a lot of great variety from pop culture, interviews, nostalgia, the whole nine. I'm there, I'm here, there, everywhere, as I say, and I'm here with Dazzy Dangerously doing it up on the Netpicks podcast. Boom.
And speaking of variety, there is plenty on this Reel of Fortune that we'll get through in the next few weeks. We've got Hitchcock, we've got Tom Hanks, we've got Never Before Seen, we've got Adam Sandler, we've got Joe Pesci.
Yes.
So there's plenty of variety coming up, and obviously next time we'll be looking into 80s horror. So we'll see you next time. Stay safe, both in public and when you're chilling. Mm-hmm. And like I said in the deli, that's a wrap.
Melissa Joan Hart, you devil, you evil woman. I don't even know who you are, Melissa Joan Hart, after watching Twisted Desire. Goodness.